Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the seventh episode of my Dev Diaries. Going to go ahead and get the usual disclaimer out the way that I'm not a developer for Age of Mythology. I'm a mod developer, so I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form officially. So yeah, let's get right into the episode. Today, I'm just working on old maps again. I don't plan on developing any more maps for a good bit. So right now, I'm just adjusting things that needed to be fixed. So in case you didn't know, AWA Unknown has a rare chance to spawn something in the center that you can capture. One of those things was a Plenty Vault, but the Plenty Vault was proving way too strong in some matches, so I nerfed the Plenty Vault by swapping it out for this thing that looks identical to the Plenty Vault. I found it in the game's files, but it gives a quarter as much resources as the normal Plenty Vault does, so it's a lot weaker and should hopefully give the people less of an edge if they capture it early on. Yeah, instead of getting 4 of each resource per second, this one only provides 1 of each resource per second. However, it should be noted that this is not its intended use. I did play test it in normal gameplay for a bit, and it did seem to work perfectly normal, but please tell me if this causes any bugs, like anyone automatically winning. Moving on to the Tundra version of AWA Unknown here, I noticed that some of the forest types that I added in the most recent update were actually bugged and not appearing on the minimap because they didn't have a forest ground. So I've gone ahead and looked back in my code and fixed that for the new forest versions added specifically in the tundra biome. I'm not sure if this bug affected any other biomes. Another change I made was there was a rare chance in the dirt biome that there would be a single red chicken that would spawn in your base as a reference to robot chicken, but it was bugged to replace your normal chicken, so I've gone ahead and fixed that bug. And then in the underworld biome, I went ahead and decreased the chance of which you can spawn ponds. So there's going to be less likely of a chance for there to be water. So now, statistically speaking, only 1 of 4 underworld matches are going to have water in it. So it should help with the aesthetic. And also sometimes the water color was the same as the forest line color, and that was confusing some people. Let me know if this should be 0% in the underworld, since some people think that water doesn't make sense in the underworld. I just keep it around as a reference to the river Styx. Speaking of water, if you watched my last episode, you would know that I discovered a way to add rain without lightning. So now I've updated all the maps with rain to have this new version of rain that does not have lightning in it. Well, you can see it doesn't impact my game negatively at all. If you have an older computer, it might in fact impact your performance just a little bit. On top of that, the rain is actually pretty heavy, so I decreased the chance for it to appear on all the maps I could have it. Pillar of Atlas in specific has had its chance of rain decreased to 0%, so it will not rain there anymore. And I just want to remind people that not all biomes of AWA Unknown can rain. It only rains on the grass, tundra, or marsh versions. Fair Eter is also one of the maps that can rain, but I actually disabled it in the rare version. So you get the rare version, there's a 0% chance of rain. Another change I made to Fair Eter was to make it so that the shrines, they spawn next to your second town center. This makes it so there's 1 shrine per player and the spawning is more fair and predictable. Not to mention it being next to your town center makes it easier to defend since you're naturally going to want to build up there anyway, as opposed to previously where they were in weird spots where you had no interest in building. In case you forgot what the shrine does, it grants you favor when you claim. Likewise, the outposts and Timona's Nest have been changed as well. I have removed all the randomly spawning ones and only kept the center one. On top of that, the center one is now surrounded by a forest, so you have to dig to it now. The map overall now has a square forest running around it, same as the map from the previous video, like it literally uses the same code. On top of that, I increased the amount of Gaia trees that spawn this map. In case you didn't know, the Gaia trees harvest wood faster for your villagers, so hopefully with the current amount I put, it's advantageous to consider setting up next to one and start digging from them. These changes seek to improve the fact that sometimes Timona's Nest would just have large portions of the map be empty, and hopefully give it more of a unique look that's more recognizable and not something you could think to yourself, oh, that could have been generated with AWA Unknown. I haven't done it yet, but I seek to change Outlaw Waste in this way as well. It's not going to change gameplay too much, I'm just going to add cliffs that spawn on the edge, give it visual distinction. A random non-gameplay change I made was I increased the chance of the bonfire being lit. A lot of people told me they liked how it looks, so I increased it from 50% of the time to 75% of the time the bonfire would be lit. Additionally, a lot of people told me that they liked how the rare version looks, so I've lowered the odds of the normal version spawning and increased the odds of the rare version. So you can look forward to that, but I do gotta warn you that makes the video I have on the rare version of the game of my maps outdated, and I will update it shortly after the update fully comes out. I just don't want to update it after each small change because, that would be a lot of uploads. That's also the same reason why I don't update the mod as I go. A lot of people hate having to update their mods, so I try and jam pack as much content as I can before each update, even if this next one's going to be a beta and not a complete update. Matt Theocrat for the second time is receiving some significant changes. While the last one was a visual overhaul, this one seeks to change it gameplay-wise, although I did change the forest type to be peach blossoms to hopefully make it look like more coral. And then I made these little craters to hopefully give it more of a destroyed Atlantis look, since that's what I was going for with the original creation of the map. I made those dead trees you see randomly spawn wrap around these craters. Making the code to make them wrap around was actually pretty difficult because I used the normal code that you make them wrap around, the same one I used in the previous map in the last video. It would actually consume the entire crater and turn it to nothing but forest. And the way I'd fixed that on the last map didn't apply here because it's several areas, and otherwise I would have been able to fix Mount Awat if I knew how to fix this one. So what I actually did was make a bunch of random trees and then have a bunch of random spots of forest ground spawn next to each crater and hope they align up accordingly. So it gives this look that basically looks like a forest just wrapped around it. There might be a few spots without trees where there's a forest ground, but honestly, I don't mind it on this map in specific because the whole point is to have a destroyed Atlantis, and that would fit right into the theme. Also, you may notice there's a little bit of fog in the craters. That's from the lighting I selected, and I thought it looks nice, so I kept it. So hopefully this gives it even more life than it previously had. Since when I had remastered it and the ugliness was gone, it just looked like a normal land map with nothing much going on about it. Hopefully the coral trees, which are actually peach blossom trees, and the coral decorations around the relic give it more of an underwater look. If you're a fan of the old autumn trees, I'm sorry they're gone, but they do still spawn in the original look. The rare version of this map, which is meant to look like the original version, keeps the autumn trees to keep it mostly faithful to the original, although I'm still adding the craters to the old version since I don't want any gameplay disparities between the rare version and normal version. My general rule of thumb is when I make rare variants, they have to play just like the normal version. They have to be nothing but a visual overhaul. If they play different, then that's something for AWAT unknown, you know? Since when a player plays on this map, they expect the same gameplay loop. But yeah, you can see here the original look looking as ugly as ever and has the lowest chance of all rare variants to appear. You can see that the forest ground here is even the old burnt road, which appears green in the minimap instead of the dark green forest ground that I updated it to have. Yeah, I gotta admit, it definitely looked a little bit rough back then. I've begun updating the photos to reflect the new changes, although not all of them have been updated yet. I think there's about 6 or 7 maps that still need their image updated, but for the most part, you can see the brand new images for the ones I just mentioned, and some of the images for the new maps. You can see the parentheses beta tag that I've put on the new maps, and that's how you'll see it up until the point that the Aztec DLCs come out, and I am able to finalize what their terrain looks like. So in specific, don't be shocked if the ones with the parentheses beta end up changing look significantly. I also did go ahead and add loading screen images for each of these maps that you may see when you're loading into a 1v1 or any sort of team composition match. I do have to warn that both the loading screen and the map select images do not work with someone who does not have the mod. So while you are able to play and share the map with people who do not have the mod, if the person does not have the mod, it will just appear as black and be void of these images. The map itself will still work, don't get me wrong, but the images won't be here. And also, it's important when you're playing with someone online that you don't know to check with them and see if they have the most updated version. I know AWAT Unknown has become quite popular online, and a lot of people have been playing it, but people with different versions, when they try to play the map together, it will cause them desync. It's just in general a good idea to keep my most updated version in your library so that there's less bugs and things spawn fairly. But yeah, that's it for this episode. There's not much to report on since I'm doing more technical stuff and bug fixes than overhauls, but hopefully next episode we'll have more overhauls for you. And then that might be it for Dev Diaries for a while. It might slow down to crawl up until the point that Demeter or Demeter, whatever her name is, comes out, and I'll see if there's any more content for me to work with. But otherwise, it's just nature of working with old maps. You know, there's not usually something glamorous to show off each time. It might be just technical stuff. But sorry there wasn't more content. I hope you all have a good night and see ya.